Hello, CTR parishioners and all. Recently, as I mentioned on Sunday, some youth, young adults, said to me, Father, what do we say when our cousins or even a family member or a friend say, it's not a big deal if you miss Mass on Sunday. There's no it says you have to go to Mass every Sunday. How do you answer that? And I said to them, look, there's three things I would share with them. Firstly, go into the Old Testament, where Moses was given the commandments. And the third of those 10 very central commandments that as guidance for our moral life, our lives, was to keep the Lord's Day, keep the Sabbath holy. And from that time, the Jewish people kept that, even having rules to restrict them in what they did, no work, so they have the chance, always have the opportunity to go to the synagogue or the temple for their worship. That's the first. Second, we come into the New Testament, Jesus. What did Jesus do? It says in Luke chapter 4 that he came to Nazareth and he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath, as was his custom. He went to his hometown. So that Jesus, all through his life, went to the synagogue for his time, hearing God's word through the Old Testament and what was happening there in the life of his community, their faith. And also, at the Last Supper, Jesus said, do this in memory of me. The night before he died, he gave us the Eucharist, gave the apostles the Eucharist. Do this in memory of me. This is my body, this is my blood. And not just for them, he says, do this in memory so those who you've got a mission towards will be nourished. They'll hear God's word and be nourished and receive me. And in John chapter 6, he says, those who don't eat my flesh, don't drink my blood, will have no life within them. So this is the source of life. And then the church, from Jesus' teaching, the church has said, then from what Jesus' words is, that it's a mortal sin to deliberately miss Mass, where there's no extenuating circumstances, a health issue, something really quite central that prevented you from getting to Mass. Yeah, that when we just lapsing down, said, no, what's the big deal? That's when we're starting to, something that God has given us through the Old Testament, through Jesus' words, through the teaching of the church following on. When we neglect that, we're falling into mortal sin. We're letting God's grace in us die in a way where we're losing that contact with him. It's quite serious. So that's very important that's what we can share with them. Then as well, what can you do? Yeah, is for you to witness to them. You let what you've received in the Mass be real in your life. And there's two things in living the commandment of keeping the Lord's Day holy, like all the commands. We're doing a series where we're saying they lead us to be holy and joyful disciples of Jesus. There. And that where you let that his holiness is like the incense that was, that's a sign of holiness. Yeah, you let that incense in a beautiful way in your love, your example to them. You let that incense permeate towards them and your joy in being a disciple of Jesus to show them, that's so very important. That's the first thing. So be that example, a holy and joyful disciple following Jesus. And the second thing, invite them. Keep reminding, invite them, share with them, invite. Don't be shy to invite them. And remind them of the centralness and what, how vital it is from those 3 points. And finally, especially to our parishioners, but to anyone who would like, please make sure you download our parish app. The parish app, you can scan it, I think, from our website. We're going to have more information about that going out again. That is our one-stop connection to our parish. To get all the information, to know what's going and how to be involved, and how for all of us we grow in achieving, with God's grace, the vision he's given us for our parish and the mission, that we can live out the mission he's given us. So, look forward to seeing you on Sunday. We're like Zechariah, who was at temple before the altar, incense being offered. He heard the angel speak to him, said, God has answered your prayer, that they received a new mission, him and Elizabeth, they're going to be parents. that they received this news that would lead them to joy and gladness. Even though his faith was weak, he was there. He was at the temple. He was at the worship. Let's make sure we come to Mass on Sunday for us to know God hears our prayer. God bless you all.